Hey y'all, I'm Dr. Lucretia Cook, but you can call me Dr. LaLa. Welcome back to another episode of the Revolve Podcast, where grief and loss are a journey, not a final destination. And so I want to welcome you, and today we're going to be talking about stepping into something new. That sounds good, doesn't it? Stepping into something new. Not because everything is perfect, but because you've made the decision to get up. You've decided to rise. Rise above all of the things that attempted to destroy you. You've decided to rise, right? This is all about renewal, that spiritual posture. It's about reclaiming. And today, we're going to walk in it together, right? Because it's time to get up, right? It's time to get out of bed. It's time to pull the covers from over our head. Yeah, it's time, right? We've been in this space long enough. Yes, ma'am. And so this message is for the woman who's been in survival mode, but you feeling it, right? Something keeps telling you it's time to move. Because, little sis, you're not just healing, you're being restored in this season. And that restoration starts with the decision. Yes, ma'am. It starts with a decision to rise, right? Because we all come to that space where we realize I'm not where I was. I'm not crying every day. I'm not stuck in this deep, dark hole. You've come to that realization. And that realization is an invitation from the Lord. He's telling you, baby girl, it's time to get up. Yes, ma'am, it's time to get up. And once you recognize his voice, once you recognize the invitation, you also begin to feel that shift, that it's time to move, right? And I ain't gonna lie to you, that can be scary, right? Because can we take a moment and just admit to the fact that sometimes when we get to a certain space, that space becomes comfortable? Even though we're miserable there, it's comfortable. And that doesn't even make sense, does it? How can I be miserable in a space and be comfortable in that space? How is that even possible? Because you know what to expect. That's crazy, right? Comfortable in misery, but because I know what to expect here, there are no surprises. Wow. Listen, I am having a full moment here because sitting here and realizing that sometimes we're comfortable in misery because it's safe. Do what? I'm safe in misery. But that's what we tell ourselves. Because again, we know what to expect. right? But it's time to shift, right? And here's the thing, in order to shift, in order to step into this season of renewal, we have to be willing to let those old things go. Yes, ma'am. We have to be willing to let it go. That misery that's so comfortable because it feels safe. In order to shift, we have to be willing to let that go. Because you can't carry old wounds into new seasons. We can't do that. And here's the truth, I had to let go of the version of me that I had built for survival. The version of me that was miserable, but staying there because it felt safe, because I knew what to expect, because I had reconciled in my mind that I could tolerate A in order to maintain B. Man, look, listen. Can I just be honest with y'all and tell y'all that I am just really? But I had to let go of that version of myself. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. It was necessary. And once I let that old version of me go, I was able to make room for grace. Grace for myself, right? Because a lot of times we're able to show others grace, especially as they navigate different seasons in life. We're able to show them grace because the reality is life is hard sometimes, but we give them grace through the hard parts. We encourage them through the hard parts. We try to give them tips and tricks to get through the hard part, but we don't do it for ourselves. Do what? Like, how is it that you're able to show others grace, but you're not even able to do that for yourself? But so many of us do it, right? But we're letting go of that old version of ourselves so that we can make room for grace, right? Because now we're reclaiming our identity, right? We're reclaiming our identity in this season. We have to figure out, who am I now? Not who I was before these things happened to me. Not who I am in the midst of pain, but who am I now? Who am I now in Christ? In clarity and in confidence. Who is Dr. Lucretia Cook? Who is she? Because the fact of the matter is, I'm not what I lost. I am who I became through it. This version of me speaks differently. She dresses differently. She shows up differently, not just for herself, but for everyone who's connected to her. Because this version is the healed version of me, and this version of me has an assignment. And because of that, this version of me also needed a new language. I needed new verbiage. Right? because the old me didn't speak life. The old me didn't assign God's promises to negativity. The old me allowed people to just treat me any kind of old way, talk to me any kind of old way, right? The new me doesn't do that anymore. The new me realizes that I can still love you from over there, right? We showing up differently for everybody, starting with myself. And because of that, I've had to be intentional with this rebuilding process. Me and Jesus, of course, like, cuz we ain't doing this by ourselves, right? We got Jesus and a therapist and all these wonderful tools in our tool belt, right? And we're going to rebuild with intention, because the truth is, grief and loss, whether it has to do with a relationship, a job, your children, parents, a dream, right? Those things affect you. And when things don't go the way we think they should, sometimes that means we have to tear this structure down and start over, right? And so when we do that, we want to be intentional, because this rebuilding process, this renewing process, is not just emotional, it's a practical thing as well, right? You have to take intentional steps to get life in order. My mornings, my boundaries, the businesses that I'm trying to build, my relationships. Because the goal is to not build from brokenness anymore. We want to build from a place of restoration, right? Because here's a fact: if you build, right, we can even think in terms of literal buildings. Let's say we're building a house. And if we're building with subpar products, what are the chances your house is going to be steady? What are the chances that it'll be safe for you and the people that you love to be inside that house if we didn't use top grade building supplies? Right? It's the same thing on this healing journey. If we're trying to build, right, now in this season, if we're building and we're still building from a place of brokenness and not restoration, then what we're building is going to be shaky. It's not going to be safe. Not safe for me, and not safe for the people that I love. I'd be putting everyone in danger, right? So in this season, everything should reflect restoration, the healed version. Because now we're not just surviving, we're also working hard to steward what God is giving us, right? And being a good steward requires structure and clarity and spiritual alignment, right? And here's the thing: once we get to that place where we are rebuilding with intention, we start to have those moments of joy. We start to feel joy again because it feels like things are going to be okay. And I ain't going to hold you. I'm not saying that you won't still have some moments when you have like those memories and you have the hurt that comes back. I'm not saying that it doesn't. But those feelings of restored joy outweigh those moments of pain. Those pain points are not the main thing anymore. Right? Because sometimes in these seasons of grief and loss, the pain points become the main thing. And for some of us, they become the only thing. And here's the thing, joy isn't a feeling, just a feeling. It is a feeling, but not just a feeling. Because sometimes joy has to be a conscious decision. It has to be a conscious decision. I know. Because sometimes we wake up on the proverbial wrong side of the bed. But even if I get up on the wrong side of the bed, I can still choose to have joy. Right? You see what I mean? Joy is a choice. And so I got to the place where I celebrated even the small things. Because as I've said, there was a season when I wondered if I would ever smile again. Shoot, nothing was funny. Just being honest. Nothing was funny. Nothing at all. But I got to the place where I gave myself permission to laugh, to rest, to dance, right? And here's what I want you to know, joy isn't just a luxury. It's not a luxury, it's a spiritual weapon because the joy of the Lord is our strength, right? And that joy became my resistance, it became my thing. Those moments of joy were a reminder for me that I was still here and I was still worthy, even in those moments when I didn't feel like it, right? And when my joy came back, I also began to be able to trust again. And y'all, that was a big one, right? Because the thing about grief is that it can distort your trust. I didn't know who was safe. I didn't know what was safe. If I'm being honest, I didn't even trust myself. Because so many things felt unfamiliar. Nothing was as I thought it to be. There were so many people that I knew and things just didn't seem the same anymore. Right? But this season of renewal, right? It helped me to rebuild my trust because this season of renewal with the Father was able to restore what trauma had distorted. Because listen, trauma can make what was the most beautiful thing something ugly and dark and painful, right? But I was able to start trusting my voice again and trusting God's timing, trusting that I could be open and vulnerable and still be protected. that I could still be vulnerable and still be wise, that I could still be soft and still strong. Because for so long, those things seemed complete opposites of each other. Like I could not be vulnerable, I could not be open, right? I couldn't be soft because if I did, I left myself open to being hurt. But this season of renewal with the Father, I was able to begin to trust again. And He sent people to me. More specifically, He sent someone to me that provided me with a space to just be. Right? So it's so important that your trust be restored, that you allow yourself to heal to the space that you can trust again. Because when you get to the space that you can trust again, you start to move differently. You're not moving with hesitation. You're not resistant to meeting new people and doing new things, right? You don't lead and navigate life from burnout anymore. You're able to lead from a place of overflow because, again, your cup is full. Once I got to the space where I felt safe and that I could start to trust people again, my parenting started to look different. My relationships look different. The way I engage with people look different. I'm not living in fear anymore. I'm living from a place of overflow and not depletion anymore. And I work hard to model what I've lived and talk about what I've survived. And here on the Revolve podcast, I try to hold space for women to rise, right? And I'm not doing this from a space of, oh, well, I read about it. No, I have walked through this journey for myself, right? This is my life for real, right? And something that I've come to realize is that a lot of times our healing journeys aren't just for us. It's not just for me, right? It's for my baby girl. It's for every woman who's walking this journey, right? It needs to know that they can rise again, that they can take up their bed and walk. Because here's the reality: renewal is contagious, right? It is. When we walk in renewal, when we walk in restoration, other people are able to feel it, right? Other women are able to feel it. And that's what we want to happen. We want everyone to know that you are not the sum of your mistakes. And while your lived experience do make up who you are, you don't have to be defined by them. right? So, how does therapy help in this process? It helps to release the shame and limiting beliefs that you may have so we can make space for restoration, right? You can rediscover your voice, your values, and vision beyond what you've been through. It offers you tools that help to equip you to be able to steward joy and set boundaries and practice peace with authority, right? It can help you to connect your healing story to your purpose, right? Turn your testimony into impact. I'm a firm believer that we go through things so that we can be a blessing to others, right? And it helps us to align our faith with forward movement so we can walk in grace and clarity, right? And it's time. It's time to rise. You're not who you were. You've survived. You've shifted. And now it's time to get up. It's time to rise. This isn't a one time event, right? This is a lifestyle. This is a journey. You've already made the decision to get up. Now it's just time to walk in it. And we can go on this journey together. You're not by yourself. It's time. It's time. And I can't wait to see you walking in your purpose. Make sure to send me a message and tell me about it. I would love to hear it because I believe that God is working in you and through you, even as we speak. I believe that. And it's time for you to walk in your purpose. Get up, sis. Let's go. And so until next time, keep choosing healing. Keep choosing joy. I love y'all.